Hello and welcome back to the Motivating Force. Thank you for joining us on this wonderful Monday morning. With me, as always, we have Josue, an aspiring Marine Corps officer who's finishing up ROTC and his bachelor's in the criminal justice field. And myself, Justin, a motivational speaker who's more than excited to share all of our wonderful ideas and topics with you. Today, just starting off real quick, I want to give a quick shout out as we do record on Sundays. Today is my dad's birthday, so happy birthday to you. And hopefully we can get some comments down there wishing him some fruitful times to come.
Yeah. And if people aren't familiar with him, we also have those the interviews that I did with him on the podcast, so you can go back in our little video history and check those out. You can comment down there as well, like leaving the happy birthday directly to him, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be great. He's an entrepreneur for a long time and had a lot of insightful information to share. I mean, obviously he brought me into this world, and you see what I'm trying to do out here, and it's all thanks to him. So happy birthday, Dad. Real quick, as you guys can see, we are in our new studio. If only we had chairs. But
well, chairs and then a little bit more decoration, but that's all coming along the way. We were just a little excited and happy and motivated to actually get the ball rolling that we've been talking about for a while. So hopefully you guys get to see this progression, and it's a little bit more room than we had previously. So hopefully you guys like it.
Today, jumping right into it now, at this point, we're going to be talking about building better habits for yourself. So the key to a more structured life is to form habits that benefit you. We are creatures of habit, and we kind of enjoy doing the same things day in and day out. So when we prioritize those habits and make them work for us, then we can go through life doing the same thing day in and day out because we have these productive habits already formed, and we don't feel like we're doing a whole lot of work when really we're out there getting after it.
Right.
So the one zinger that I want to kind of stick for the topic today is just because everything is normal for you doesn't mean everything is good. Because that's what kind of brought this topic up. Is I hear this a lot, whether it's from coworkers or just random people that we talk to, and they're like, oh yeah, everything's going fine, everything's going the way it should be, everything's normal for me right now. But does that mean everything's good?
Yeah.
Where are you going? What's going on with your life?
Well, there's two parts that I wanted to talk about real quick. The first one would be like, that's how you get stuck in like mundane ruts, right? That you're just accustomed to things being normal, or like you said, it's a habit for you, not necessarily a good one, but you're just, why change it if it's not harming you? So you think just because it's not like directly causing harm or affecting other people negatively around you, you feel like, it should be okay. Why do I need to change it? And then the other part that I wanted to bring up, because, light bulb moment, is when people, like, if you ask people, like, how you doing, right? Like, just in passing, a quick greeting or whatever, people are so used to just saying, oh, I'm good. But are you? Because you could just be in that rut, like that mundane cycle of just doing things like nonchalantly, like it's not really challenging for you. And I think that's why we did talk about previously, like, really implementing challenges for yourself, because it gets you, experiencing new things, it gets you learning new things, and overall just makes a better life for you.
And it's true, and I can tell you why that normalcy isn't good. That's actually my next line on here goes into explain that. And I tell you, man, normal is the slow death of your dreams and aspirations. Right. You don't grow in normal. Okay? You can only sustain where you're at, because a whole year could pass by and everything's normal, and you didn't get anywhere. But sustaining is also a form of death for yourself, right? Because first of all, time is non-refundable. It's killing you every second.
Yeah. So
you can't afford to just sustain, just go through the day. You can't afford to not be in a constant state of growth. Because, man, time will get you. Yeah. And it's going to eventually, right? So coming into today, we're going to focus on like the simpler things. There's really easy things you can do to really change some habits in your life, because everything is accumulative. And it just takes really small steps to make a big difference when you're talking about, a year going by.
Changing habits can be like, you don't have to change, pinpoint the initial habit that you want to change, because maybe it's too big of a change for you to attack head on when you have that, like, those horse blinders on. But when you think of everything that you do in your day to day as like a chain of events, it can ultimately change that habit that was a problem to begin with. Like changing the smaller things can then trickle down to having a bigger effect on your daily habits. Even if it sounds, super simple, that's kind of why we're bringing it up, because it's the things that you don't think about that will help correct that path that you have.
Prioritizing on the simplicity of it, because like you're saying, people just go right over it because it almost seems too easy. But sometimes things in life are easy, and it's a great thing, and you just have to recognize it and still do it. Not everything in life is going to be this huge challenge for you to overcome.
Yeah.
And there's really easy things you can do.
Well, I think maybe what we should do is change the verbiage, because we keep saying easy, but the easiest thing that people are doing are maintaining that sustainability. That's the easiest thing, is not changing anything at all. So maybe we have to change the verbiage of the simpler things, the easier thing, because I'm thinking in their perspective, or, even my own perspective. The easiest path is no resistance. So it's to just not change or not put any effort into it.
So I guess we would say something along the lines of like, the less thought of actions for the day, right?
Okay. Yeah.
The low mental energy.
Yeah. The lower
functioning.
Yeah. The lower cost of energy. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
Gets the point across.
Because that's really all it is to change a habit. And the majority of information I got for today's episode comes out of healthline.com. There's multiple different links to, they have all kinds of stuff based off of habits, whether you're creating them, breaking them. Read through it all for you guys. Here it is in a nutshell, pretty much. But healthline.com, that's our source for today. Go check them out. I will drop a link to one of the pages down below, and then all the related articles they're all there for you guys.
Yeah, as we've said before, it's called research. We're lighting that fire to get you motivated to start the research. So the rest of the article will be down in the description, or the link to it at least.
So getting into habits here, we need to understand what it takes to create the habit in the first place. And Healthline, they had a really simple way of explaining it, which I liked, which is why we kind of used them today. But they used it as a reminder, a routine, and a reward. So the reminder kind of acts as your cue, right? So like the alarm clock goes off, it's time to wake up. And then waking up, just the simple act of waking up is your cue to start a routine. And for like myself, the first thing I do when I wake up, before my eyes are even open, I'm already scrounging my way towards the kitchen to get to the coffee.
Yeah.
It's my first thing, right? But then what's that reward? Of course, the reward is that sweet, sweet caffeine that I so desperately missed the last 8 hours of my full 8 hours of restful sleep every night that we also promote everybody to get.
Yeah.
So you have the cue, the reminder, right? You have the routine, go and do that action, and then the reward, which is typically based around, sense of dopamine. That's where we can really run into issues here, is the dopamine reward from our habits, which is why we can get stuck into ruts and stuck doing the same thing, because trying to make these big challenges and make big leaps take a lot of effort and a lot of energy. And essentially, you'll get the same amount of dopamine doing that as you will just abiding by your habits. So what's going to make you go out there and do that? Which is why I want to hit on some of the smaller points today to really help push you guys in the right direction.
Yeah, so that was basically like the layman's terms of me saying that it's easier to not change anything because you're going to get the same reward. So it's not going to be based on a reward system for you to act upon changing those habits. It's more of the thinking about bettering your own lifestyle in the longer run is what's really going to be like that force behind you to actually act upon it. Because if you just go, oh, well, I'll get more dopamine from this, or I'll get better satisfaction from just staying in bed or going straight to the coffee, like that's not really going to affect the amount of effort you're going to put into changing those habits.
Yeah, and our first step towards just kind of going with the flow with things is to purposefully change our environment. But the first thing that I want everybody to do when you're trying to fix some habits that you have is spend the first week just being mindful of your habits and what they are. Find your cues, find those triggers that lead to the next step in your routine. And the way I thought of this was, say, like, you know, when you're driving home from work, right? And you got this mental list of things you need to do when you get home, okay? And you're going through, and today's even an exceptional day, right? Because there's sometimes, right, when work didn't really kick your butt as bad as it could have, and you're driving home, and now you're actually sitting down and kind of relaxing for a minute, depending on what city you drive in, because, you know, some drivers are out there trying to kill you. But for the most part, relaxing. And you kind of get this second wind, right? And you're just like, oh, sweet, you know, I didn't burn out at work. I can actually get some stuff done today. And so you start going through this list of stuff you're going to do when you get home, some projects you're going to work on, even if it's just as simple as cleaning the house. And as soon as you get home and you open up that front door and you put your keys down on the counter, you go and you click the TV on just to have some noise in the background, go ahead and start everything you're going to do, right? Next thing you know, where'd the day go? You're just sitting there watching TV for 3 hours, and now it's time for dinner, time to get ready for bed.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, you know, I thought I had all this energy and I had these things planned, and it just didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go. Mm-hmm. Because you fell right back into that routine because your environment didn't change.
Yeah.
So just by walking in that door, setting down your keys, turn on the TV, you're creating that chain of events, right? That chain reaction that you mentioned earlier, that's going to really kind of concrete the steps moving forward into continuing on with your mundane tasks.
Exactly.
Which is why, you know, why it kind of leaves you wondering a couple hours later, like, oh man, you know, because you could have the best intentions, but it's really hard to come out of these habits sometimes.
I mean, one way that people can, you know, you said dedicate like a week to realizing what those habits are. It's, you know, just start taking account, take like a log of your day, you know, even if it's simple things like, oh, I went to the bathroom, that's fine. Write everything out. And then when you really look back on it, one, it's going to see if you're living like an interesting story or if it's a very boring read. Then you might want to, you know, act upon changing those habits of yours or, you know, just your daily activities. You feel like you need some sustenance, you know, some drama in there, some comedy in there. Change that up. That'll give you a better perspective instead of just thinking it was a normal day. Because like we said, normal necessarily isn't a good thing, because you get stuck in those mundane habits. And then like changing the environment. I mean, my girlfriend, she's constantly cleaning the house all the time. So whenever I get like home from a long day of work and I go to put my keys up, something changed, or like wherever I put my keys is now like I have to hang the keys. Like it throws me off. And I guess I've accidentally fallen into that example where it has then trickled down into my habits of that specific day. You know, like now instead of putting it down, I have to look around and then hang up my keys. And then instead of doing the step that would have came naturally, the path of easier or no resistance, one would say, now it's like it shifted my gear to then go, okay, so instead of going to the bathroom or to the bedroom, now I'm in the kitchen for longer than I expected, or in the living room for longer than I expected. So then I do a couple of things there, and then I'm able to keep that momentum going of, you know, I still had some energy stored and I was able to use that properly instead of wasting it.
See, that's perfect, man, because that's exactly where I was kind of going with that. And it is changing those little small things. And luckily for you, I mean, you have somebody who's
intentionally changing my environment.
Yeah. So for the rest of us, though, you need to be able to change your environment on your own.
Yeah. And I mean, this is also, it goes back to like, I mean, people have seen it everywhere. Those memes where it's like a girlfriend asks the boyfriend for a paper clip and he goes, oh, it's by the TV shelf on the bottom right on the floor in the carpet. And then you look down and it's like a paper clip right there on the floor. Yeah. It's like men are so used to, like you said, being that creature of habit. And I guess I don't want to like put stereotypes on genders or whatever. Like women just naturally, you know, they're used to changing things around and, you know, cleaning up a little bit more than men are. plain as it is. Like, I'm not calling anybody out. Like,
Yeah.
men are used to just, we can come home and just leave stuff everywhere, and we'll know exactly where it's at for the next year.
Right.
But I mean, I guess for women that's a little bit too cluttered.
Yeah, well, it's true, and
for our women at least, let's play it safe like that.
Yeah. Well, it's true. I mean, there are women do appreciate that change a lot more than guys do, for a variety of different reasons. But we won't really dive into that today. Just know that changing your environment it's going to be an easier task for you if you are a female.
Yeah.
There is a science behind that, and we'll be more than happy to go into that if somebody feels the need to bring up that conversation. But the main point is, if you walk into your house and you have this list of your triggers and your cues that concrete some of your habits for yourself, and you know that if you put your keys down on the table right next to the remote, you pick up the remote, you turn on the TV, that leads to you watching TV for 3 hours. No matter how good your intentions are, that's what it's going to do. So you need to change that. Easiest way, take that remote, throw it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right? Or, put a plant down where you normally put your keys, so that way you can't put your keys there anymore. And make a nice little spot, like say if you're trying to read more, right? Make a nice little spot on your bookshelf for your keys to hang your keys up or something like that, right? So that way when you get home, walk a little bit further into the house there, hang your keys up. You've already changed your environment because you're not by the TV anymore. You're not by the remote. Now you're standing right in front of the bookshelf.
Yeah.
And you had the best intentions of coming home and reading a chapter before you make dinner or something like that, right? Now you have no excuse, and you changed your environment, so your body's already kind of like you said, where you're trying to find your keys and your body's kind of like, well, I'm already here in the kitchen. Yeah. I might as well clean something or do something, right? And that's exactly what's going to happen. Your body's going to kind of be like, well, the remote's not here, so I guess I don't need to turn on the TV. Next step is, well, if I have the TV on, that's going to distract me from my reading, and I'm currently staring at, 10 books that I've been trying to read for the last year.
Yeah. Also, maybe put a sticky note on the book at eye level that's like, listen, dummy, read me. So then when you're there, it's also reinforcing the fact that you should be reading.
It's as simple as that, these small little changes. And the first step is identifying those triggers, finding those cues for yourself, and seeing what you can do to change the environment around that. Yeah. Because obviously certain things you can't change, like walking in the front door. Your house is kind of your house.
Walk in through the back door then. I'm kidding.
Let's not do that. Yeah. So, there's really small things that's going to take you a lot further. And that's what I really like about being able to break these habits and build better habits, is all it takes is really getting in and changing your environment. Yeah. Just a tiny bit. You don't have to be radical about it. You don't have to make this like the next greatest challenge of your life. It's really simple things that you can do that's going to just throw your mind for a loop, even for half a second. And it's enough for you to catch it and realize, like, nah, man, I got energy to do this. I'm already like kind of hunting for the remote. Let me just grab that book.
Yeah. This topic is making me self-reflect a lot right now. There's another example, like, we've been playing a computer game lately, and it's one of those that really takes a lot of your life. It really sucks you in, but they have these daily login rewards that you just have to go and sign in, click it, and then you can exit. And I realized this past week, I haven't been sitting down. Like, I've turned on the computer, I've stood there at my desk, signed in, and then I go, I don't want to be standing for this. So then I just collect the reward and turn off the computer instead of sitting down. And then now I'm comfortable. Now I don't want to do anything. I just had a long day of work. Let me just keep, there's a couple extra tasks I can do real quick. Next thing I know, 5 hours later or something extreme that I'm like, okay, there was my entire day that I had planned out. But just from standing there, not necessarily changing the environment, but like actively changing my scenario or, my posture, just instead of being comfortable by sitting down, I'm a little uncomfortable standing up, and it stops me from wasting that day, even though I'm getting that little reward or whatever.
That's smart, man, because, that is how they do it. Video games are designed in a way to be the most rewarding for you, obviously. Because they know all the science behind all that, and all it takes is a simple, dumb little daily reward that's going to remind you like, oh yeah, I just need to go collect my daily real quick. You sit down on the computer, you log in, you collect your daily, and now it's 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah. Next thing
I know that very well.
Next thing you know, you didn't go to the gym, and now it's what, too late if you go to like LA or something, LA Fitness, and then it's closed by the time you're already done. So now you just wasted a day of not getting those health benefits on top of that.
These are those subtle cues that we want you guys to realize and pinpoint. Like these are some of the cues we realize in our life going through this, talking about habits. And, we spent that little bit of time actually looking like, okay, well, what are some of the things I do? And like the key thing, I'm no stranger to the key thing. That's me personally. And like you mentioning the thing with the video games, it's always in your head, oh, well, I just need to collect that daily real quick. And, I know you've fallen victim to sitting there on the computer for too long. And it's those small little things. All you had to do was stand up when you collected it.
Right.
Because then you could finish that task and move on because you didn't make yourself comfortable. The same way that, now I have to walk all the way across the house and my book is actually on my bedstand. So now I got to go put my keys in my room next to my bed. And for me personally, it's not bad for me to get into bed because I don't fall asleep like that real quick. So then I can just, okay, well, now I can sit down in bed and now I'm kind of comfortable and there's my book on the nightstand. And now I can pull it out and read it. And that's all we're asking you guys to do. And that first step it's going to take is just that little bit of mindfulness. Find all those triggers and cues and just make really small changes. Listen, nothing drastic, nothing crazy. And it's enough that it'll push you in the right direction. Because just by you not being able to sit down, you saved yourself 4 or 5 hours that day. And by me not being able to pick up that remote for the TV, I'm able to move ahead in my reading and finish, a chapter a day. And what does that do for you over a year? Well, if you read a chapter every day for a year, how many books is that? You know, it's a great start. And don't knock the little things. Because I know we're always about like the struggles and the challenges and getting to overcome some of these bigger obstacles in your life. And of course we are. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you guys live the best life possible. And there are a lot of big things for you guys to conquer. But there's also a lot of these low energy tasks that need to be well documented and maintained for yourself. And sometimes it's a great place to start for a lot of people.
People are so accustomed to, we've fallen victim, like you just said, to the lack of acknowledging those low energy tasks of going, it's not going to hurt me to just keep the routine that I already have. Like I said, it's not hurting me. It's not hurting anybody. So what harm is it really going to do? But once you start putting a little bit more energy into your day and actually chasing those beneficial habits, then it would actually help you a lot more just to spare a little bit more energy. Like you said, just walk a couple more feet to your room, That's going to change the outcome of your life because you're gaining that knowledge that you're not going to lose because you don't lose book knowledge. You might forget it, but you would always have that stored in your head. It's always going to be in that subconscious. You can use it later on in life. You have those moments when you go, oh yeah, I read about that somewhere. And that's the great thing about books. So just changing little things and putting just a little bit more energy into, the self-reflection that even throughout the video, if you doze off or you like kind of like your mind goes elsewhere and you start self-reflecting, that's even better. You don't have to listen 20 plus minutes of this podcast. You can just, we're getting you to start realizing. So start self-reflecting and realize just how we did on the little things that we have been changing or should be changing in our lives to better ourselves in the long run.
We can talk about the research we do here. My favorite saying about research is that research is typically me search.
Yeah.
So it's always, you're going to look for answers for things that are affecting your life. And just to kind of bring that forward here on the table, everything we talk about, all these topics that we hit on, they come from a very personal place. And it's what's going through our mind that week and what we're feeling and what we're trying to do to better our lives, which is the journey we're trying to take you guys on. And we do take that approach directively towards you guys to really help push you guys further ahead. But we struggle just as much as everybody else does.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect. And we're not here saying that we mastered all these things. It's just the little steps forward that we take with everything that we do and these thoughts that we get. We come out here, we put them on video for you guys, and we just presents them that way.
Yeah, a lot of it's self-reflection on our end. You know, like you said, we're not masters of anything. We never claim to be masters of anything, except for that video game that we were talking about. No, I'm kidding. Not even. We're far from it. But yeah, it's a lot of, we're just trying to benefit ourselves as well. And if we can help any one of you, no matter the age, you know, that's really what we're here for. We decided to make this podcast to not only help ourselves grow, but to help others as well on our journey. So we really appreciate you guys for listening and checking it out.
So remember, even just reading one chapter a day, changing that environment, just to do that, it sure beats the hell out of sitting in front of the TV for 3 hours. Somewhere that would be really good for you guys to sit in front of for 3 hours would probably be over at the Motivating Force on our new platforms. What do we have for everybody, Josue?
We got a bunch of new platforms, and I still don't know them all. But since we started working with Anchor, we obviously have Spotify now. So like we said before, you don't have to drive around town with a YouTube video open or listen to it while, you know, if you wanted to clean the kitchen or clean the house with us, you know, one, we're honored. But two, you don't have to sit there and wait for a YouTube ad or a YouTube video playing in the background. You can go to Spotify and you can just listen to it. That's fine. It gets the message across the same way. We have Google Podcasts, I believe, and a couple other ones. But again, those will be down in the description for everybody. You can also check out our Instagram and our Facebook. We always interact with, you know, our fans and people that have any questions, any insight that we can give. We will always be willing to share that with people.
Especially with going to these other platforms that don't really have a comment section, you know, we still really would love to hear from you guys. So make sure you check out that Instagram and that Facebook. Like Josue said, all those links will be down below. And we're still working out how a lot of the functionality works with Anchor. So I can't promise an exact upload time, but I can tell you that every Monday and Wednesday at 8 a.m. EST, you'll be getting wonderful views of myself and Josue here on YouTube. Otherwise, check the description below for the Anchor link, which can lead you to everywhere that Anchor uploads our podcast.
Also, real quick, speaking about comments, comment down below any life hacks that you have about changing your habits and any information that you have, any tricks that you found. Now go and get.